Anna. I'm here to find a man with whom I create a family, who will give me much attention, and I'm sure I can find it here.
Hello, my name is Anna, and I want to meet a man who will be a part of my heart.
Hello, my name is Natalia. I want to fall in love.
Hey guys, how are you? Welcome to our Monday night live webcast. My name is Bud. Glad you're here. Thanks for being here and taking time out of your week, out of your Monday night. This is what we do every week at this time. As you know, we set some time aside to answer your questions around international dating and marriage, how to meet these amazing, beautiful, highly unique, very attractive, and unfortunately lonely women who are at loveme.com, the tens of thousands of them. So it's just a huge, huge opportunity for you to use the technology and the resources available to you to get out in front of somebody and find the love of your life. And that is absolutely our highest calling. It's our highest mission. It's our highest purpose. It's our greatest pursuit. And it's the whole entire reason we're here, spinning around the sun on this tiny little star. So anyway, I waxed a little poetic, forgive me. Guys, listen, we're going to answer your questions tonight. There's a green box right above me, and you can click that green box anytime. If you click the green box, you can send me your question there, and I'll read your question aloud, and I'll answer it for everybody, and we're going to do that throughout tonight. We're going to take a little time out to talk about why 2019 is going to be one of the best, if not the best year of your life, and brother, I'm not kidding, all right? And it's quite an emotional little speech that I have in mind for you, but we're going to have it before the night is out, all right? I have many guys who are watching me who have been on tours with me. I have friends that are watching. I've got people in my international audience. You know that I appreciate you very, very much. You have no idea how important you are to me. You probably don't, right? We do this every Wednesday night. Some of you watch me for months, even years, and I haven't met you yet, which is incredible, but I'm really, really thankful for you. More on that in a little bit. We're looking at video footage from our September Odessa, Ukraine tour. This is just a social party, if you will, what they call a mixer, if you will, the kind of thing you would encounter if you did a singles cruise, where people are just meeting each other, finding out what they have in common, you know, being attracted to each other, talking about that, getting contact information, arranging dates, going out on dates, and having an incredibly fun time in an environment that's very, very integrity driven. So I love this club. I've been there, as you know. I love our staff in Odessa. They do a tremendous job. There are so many incredibly nice women in Odessa. You can't even possibly imagine. All over Ukraine, the number of incredibly high quality women. But you know what? Not just Ukraine. We have so many women in China, so many women in Latin America. God knows, so many fantastic women in the Philippines. We've got great women for you in 8 different destinations right now. Huge opportunity for you to do something about that emptiness beside you, where, you know, your life mate should be. So again, guys, I want you to direct the conversation tonight by clicking the green box above me. Ask me your questions. I'll be very happy to answer them. Again, if you're watching this for the first time, my name is Bud. I've been working with or for a foreign affair since 2001, 17 years. Man, let me tell you, a lot's happened in 17 years. All right, so guys, I'm going to answer a few of your questions. John and Tanya, our CEO, and his lovely wife from Russia did a couple of seminars in Texas, and those were the final 2 seminars of 2018, this past weekend. And I know that when John gets back, we'll spend some time putting together our seminar schedule for 2019. Our tour schedules for 2019 are up for you guys to look at. It's amazing to think, is this our last live webcast, Kirk, of the year? There gonna be one more next week maybe? Maybe one more? We're winding down, guys. We're winding down incredibly. All right, so let me answer a few of your questions, guys. You got questions about international dating, let's have them. Let's spend a little bit of time doing that. Then I'm gonna take a moment to kind of sum up the year and look ahead into 2019 and get a little bit sentimental, if you will. All right, guys, let's have your questions. Let's get some of that out of the way first, all right? From the top, James says, hi James, how are you, buddy? From Australia, really? Is there a set strategy that can be used whereby the men can talk to as many women as practical without appearing to be too brief with them? You know, there is. So there are a number of ways for the men to approach and talk to the women. In the video that you're watching, for example, in any of our social events around the world, in China, in Peru, in Colombia, in Ukraine, wherever we're going, we're going to pair you up with a partner, and your social event is going to be 4 hours long, guys. That's a long time. In that 4-hour span, even though we talk all the time about the numbers, we talk all the time about the fact that there'll be 10 women per guy, there'll be 150, 200, 300, sometimes 400 women at our social event. Nobody expects you to meet that many women. That's completely impossible. But you are going to be able to do exactly what we're watching. You're going to watch men with their interpreter partner span the room, find somebody that you're attracted to. It's quite simple. Tell your interpreter, you know that girl in the green and white dress over there, very lovely girl, I would like to have a conversation with her. Let's start with her. And then you walk over, hi, how are you? I'm so-and-so, this is my interpreter. I'd be very happy to just have a moment of your time. Would that be okay? Can we sit down? Can we talk? Can I get you something to drink? I noticed you from across the room. I thought you were very attractive. And right away I wanted to introduce myself to you. So hi. And just start the conversation and let the interpreter help the two of you get to know each other. And you're going to do that, James, probably 4, 5, 6 times throughout the night. I know that doesn't sound like much, but you're going to say hi to a lot of women. You're going to initiate contact with a number of women. A number of women are going to initiate contact with you. You're going to be standing around with your interpreter. Someone's going to come over and tap you on the shoulder. Hi, how are you? I'm so-and-so. This is my friend so-and-so. She would like to meet you. I'll interpret for you, or something like that. But all night long, you'll have the opportunity to meet women, but it's not as hurried as you would think. And you can take as much time as you would like. In many cases, you can even step outside the social for a little bit. Many of our social venues have a hallway or a restaurant or some place attached so that you can just separate from the group for a little bit, 10 or 15 or 20 minutes, to sit quietly and talk to somebody. You're going to have plenty of opportunity, and I promise it will be paced really, really well. It's also a good idea, guys, all of you, wherever you're going, when you meet your interpreter on the night of your social event, take some time out to get to know your interpreter. Ask your interpreter for advice. I'm thinking you'll say, I want to leave this social with 4, 5, maybe 6 women whose contact information I have, who I really, really like. You know, can you help me do that? And she'll say, of course, that's what I'm here for. And then you'll take your time, meet a lot of lovely people, get as much contact information as you want, arrange a few dates. It's not that hard, I promise you. In fact, we really have it down to a science. So it's a great question, James, but the reality is the fact that the social parties are 4 hours long, you have an interpreter partner to screen anybody out who's not right for you and to screen in the ones who are. You can take as much time with somebody or as little time with somebody as you want. You definitely will accomplish what you're trying to accomplish when you go to one of our social events. You'll get plenty of dates that you're very, very happy with. Great question. No doubt about it. James from Australia. Is there another James from Australia? No, it's the same one. I would also like to know, when will we be able to see the video footage and photos of the recent Shenzhen tour? Oh, Kirk, what do you think? How about that? How about that, James? I'm telling you, man. Kirk is like the Wizard of Oz, only like authentic. Check it out. Isn't that great? There's some video footage from the November, which started on Thanksgiving, the November Shenzhen tour. Check it out. Ask and you shall receive, James. Appreciate you being here, right? One of the fascinating things about what we do, guys, is how we manage to do what we do in 8 different countries. I mean, that's crazy. It really is when you think about it. Doing this in one country is an enormous undertaking. You know, the presence we have to develop, the women's profiles we have to collect, so you obviously have something to look at. You know, the relationship we have to maintain in the community and with the women who have placed their profiles on our site. Just the ability to present what we do and convince you to get on a plane and go and meet these women and to orchestrate that whole entire thing in one country. That whole thing is a huge undertaking. And man, we're doing this in 8 different countries right now, right? That's crazy. It's crazy fun. And it's a great opportunity for you. So we're looking at video footage from Shenzhen, China, from our Thanksgiving tour. You'll see men sitting with their partner interpreter, introducing themselves to the beautiful women in China. We're going to mix it up tonight, guys. We'll have China, we'll have Ukraine, we'll have all kinds of stuff for you, all right? Send your questions, guys. Green box right above me. We're going to talk tonight. Keep it nice and informal for you. Bob K., how do you know if a Ukrainian girl would be okay with giving up her career? And is it all right to ask that question with Ukrainian women? So, Bob, it's certainly okay to ask that question. You know, you want to ask it delicately. You know, for example, you might ask somebody during a date, your career is very interesting, and I've no doubt you're very, very good at it. When you meet somebody and fall in love and you relocate to their country, I wonder if you'll be able to continue your career in some way right away, or if you'll start another career. How do you feel about that? And certainly ask her. You know, many women don't want to give up their career ultimately, but then again, it's very hard sometimes for women in Ukraine, for example, or, you know, in China and in Colombia and other countries. It's hard sometimes for international women to come to America and work in their field of study right away. Quite frankly, in Ukraine, it's difficult for women to work in their field of study in Ukraine. There aren't a lot of jobs in Ukraine, so everybody can get a great degree and a great education. It's much harder to be able to use it. But the reality is, this is a decision, Bob, where women are going to have to decide, I'm either going to take some risks and do some things and make some sacrifices, or I'm going to grow old alone. It's as simple as that. So if I have a gentleman, he's a great guy, and he loves me, and I love him, and we're together, and we're happy as a couple, the happiness as a couple that we'll create together will supersede, will far exceed any disappointment that I have in not being able to follow my career. I'll just find other work, and many times the women will negotiate to that place. But it's also possible in some cases that a woman with a little time can work in her field of study. If she's an attorney, she's not going to work in her field of study. Laws in Ukraine are different than the laws in America. If she's a dental assistant or maybe a nurse, it's quite possible that she could, with a little bit of support, have her licensing accomplished in American culture and be able to work in American culture. It's quite possible. We have foreign doctors and foreign assistants and that sort of thing, right? So everybody's got a unique situation. It's a great question, Bob. Just give her lots of love and support and tell her no matter what happens, I'm going to love and support you like you can't imagine. And I want you to be incredibly happy. But here's a question I just kind of wonder about. I'm sure they'll be happy to answer that. So, great question. All right. Guys, I appreciate your questions very much. I'm going to get as many of them in tonight as I can. Dnepropetrovsk is one of the largest cities in Ukraine. Why do you only go there once a year? Asks David. Answer? Got no idea. No idea on that, quite frankly. Although, again, guys, we do a ton of tours. We do a ton of tours to Ukraine, and definitely Kiev and Odessa, Kharkov, cities like that are more popular. Dnipropetrovsk, you know, it is a big city. It's a huge city, and we only go there once a year, and it's not the biggest tour of the year. So it's not like we have a huge number of guys who are interested in going to Dnipropetrovsk. But I'll tell you what, David, if you have an eye on Dnipropetrovsk, good for you, because you're absolutely right, dude. It is a huge city. There are a lot of very beautiful women there, and nobody goes there. And it definitely will be a great tour for those of you who would like to meet a lot of really beautiful women who are incredibly bored because nobody ever goes there to meet them. ML Beats says, what age women do you recommend for a 30-year-old man? Well, Mr. Beats, I recommend probably 28 and above. Why would I recommend women who are 28 and above? Because the older they are, the more likely they are to be able to finish what they start in this process. Getting engaged, getting married, relocating halfway around the world to be with somebody that you are certainly in love with, but still getting to know in a short amount of time is an incredibly adventurous thing. And although you know, your girl will be happy to have met you. She'll be happy that you're so young. The two of you can start your family together. But I think the closer she is to your age, quite frankly, the more mature she's going to be and the more ready she's going to be, the less doubt she's going to have that she should do this, the more committed to following through and finishing what she starts, the less likely she'll be to chicken out, quite frankly. It's quite an intimidating thing for younger women, my friend. So you can meet younger women, there's no doubt about it. But can you meet somebody who's going to be able to finish what the two of you start together is another question. So I'm recommending women that are just a little bit younger than you, your age, even maybe a year or two older than you are. And if you do that, Mr. Beats, you're going to be great, man. You're going to find your life mate. Race, okay, all right, let's keep your questions going. Ray and David, interesting. All right, guys, I appreciate your questions. Let's keep them coming. We're watching video footage from a recent tour to Shenzhen, China. Look at that. Very nice. We have another tour to Shenzhen, China coming up in March, and you can go. Shenzhen's a great city, guys. It's beautiful. We got a nice little hotel that we stay in. There are 2 metro stops, 2 subway stops right across the street. There's a Walmart across the street. There's a shopping mall. They call it a knockoff mall. It's quite interesting. It's not too far away. It's a lot of interesting stuff. The subway directions are in English. It's a big, beautiful, clean city, right on the water, very safe, very modern. Lots of cool stuff to see in Shenzhen, China. Braun says, Braun from Holland. Right on, Braun. Good evening to you all. Comments also allowed, quite possibly, Braun, if they're respectful, you bet. Mark says, how do I do an open reservation even though I know where I want to go? So when you are at our website, loveme.com, and you know where you want to go, at the very, very top of loveme.com, on the right, you'll see our tour schedule. It'll say tours for Europe, tours for Asia, tours for Latin America. When you go to our tour schedule, click one of those tour schedules in the upper right of loveme.com. You're going to see a list of tours to our Asian destinations, a list of tours to Ukraine, a list of tours to Latin America. At the top of all of those tour schedules, the very first item is called an open reservation. This is where you want to make a $475 deposit either on a specific tour, or you're going to make the deposit because we give you some stuff, some free correspondence, some credits and such, and you may want to take advantage of that now, even though you may not know exactly where you're going to go yet. So you want to make a deposit, take advantage of the things that come with that. It's the very first item at the top of any tour schedule at loveme.com. You can find the tour schedules in the upper right. Now, when you make an open deposit, if you know what tour you want to go on, as you fill out the form below, there'll be a comments box, and in the comments box, please write what tour you want to apply this deposit to, and we'll be happy to do that, all right? Thanks for your question. How about it, lads? Ed says, great webinar. Ed, thanks, man. I see lots of ladies from Russia in the recent new profiles. Is AFA planning a social in St. Pete, or do Russian ladies appreciate us older guys? Well, they definitely appreciate older guys to a certain extent. We're not planning socials in St. Pete. When I first joined a foreign affair in 2001, man, we could do a tour in St. Petersburg. We could do 3 socials in St. Petersburg on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night, and over 300 women would come to each one of them. It was incredible. It's not quite like that anymore, although it's still a pretty darn good place to go. We do have an office in St. Petersburg with a great staff, and you can go to St. Pete. It's an amazing city, St. Petersburg, Russia, any time of the year. You should absolutely go if you have the opportunity to go. It is absolutely one of the very best, most interesting, gorgeous, incredible, breathtaking cities in Europe, I promise you. Safe for Americans to go there, certainly no less safe than any other place you're going to go to in Europe, and you should go, man. The museums alone are incredible. The food will be great. Lots and lots of beautiful women for you to meet. We can definitely introduce you to a whole bunch of them, my friend. So do yourself a service and go to St. Petersburg, Russia if you're thinking of doing that. It's great. You're going to love it. Guys, I appreciate your questions very much. Bob says, how do you know if you... I'm sorry, Bob. We already read your question. I apologize. All right, Braun. Braun says, I'm grateful to AFA as I found so many good quality friends for life among the ladies I communicated with, and I also found my queen. Wow, dude, I'm happy for you. I really am. You know, lately I've heard about a whole bunch of guys that have met their life mates. This last tour that I was just on around Thanksgiving in November, I had a whole bunch of incredibly nice guys. That was one of the best tours. I've had some great tours. I have. I've had groups of guys, entire groups of guys to a man, fabulous dudes. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate love and how humbled I am to be a tour leader for such a great group. November was very special to me, and a lot of guys in November have met somebody special, so that is absolutely fabulous. Good times. That's what we're here for, my friend. It's kind of a strange business model, but we're basically trying to lose you as our customer for life because you find your girl and go off and be happy, and we absolutely love that. Bron says, I was very skeptical at first. I even unsubscribed and then subscribed again after speaking to the wonderful staff, and I have no regrets. Quite to the contrary. So thank you, AFA and the whole staff who have been so nice, patient, and helpful. Could not have done it all without you. You know what? Those are the best words anybody has ever said to me, Bron. When somebody tells me I would never have done this without you, or I couldn't have done this without you, that is the highest compliment. So thank you, my friend. Melvin says, for the Peru tour in March, I noticed the weather there will be like late summer here in the States at the socials is wearing a polo shirt along with slacks and dress shoes. Acceptable. It certainly is, Mel. It absolutely is. Polo shirt, slacks, in summer weather, that's definitely what you want to wear, right? Not sure how great the air conditioning is going to be in Peru. I'm sure it'll be fine. I mean, I've never had a single complaint of anybody being the least bit uncomfortable in Peru. Our socials in Peru are great. If you want to wear a polo shirt, slacks, and dress shoes, Mel, that's what's up. Do it, bro. You look great. Hey, Paul, how are you, man? My friend Paul says, is it safe to go to Mariupol given the state of relations between Ukraine and Russia? You know what? It probably is safe to go to Mariupol. It's not safe to go much east of Mariupol, so there we are, right? I've been to Mariupol before the conflict, which happens to the east of Mariupol. Would I go to Mariupol again? Would I go today? I probably would. And if I could get to Mariupol, I would probably go. And I got to be honest with you, Mariupol is not that big a deal. It's a small industrial city. If you're standing on the beach in Mariupol and you're looking out at the Azov Sea, it's quite beautiful. If you turn around and face the city, it's just an industrial city, right? But there are a lot of very beautiful women there who are, again, quite bored because nobody ever goes there. And there are very, very few foreigners going to Mariupol right now. And that's the whole reason to go, Paul, right? To meet somebody special, and you could definitely do that. I'm just saying, if it were me, having already been to Mariupol once before the conflict, if I could go to Mariupol right now, tomorrow, I'd go. I would. All right, Mike, great question. Guys, green box right above me. Click the green box. Ask me your questions. Let me have it. Come on, let's go. We've been doing this all year long for you guys. I want your questions tonight. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff. So let's chat, right? If you've got questions, they're just standing in your way. They're just a barrier that doesn't need to be there, preventing you from meeting somebody. We're looking at video footage from our July Kherson, Ukraine tour and social, mingled with a little bit of Shenzhen, China. Goodness, that's a very distracting video. Mike says, what about the martial law and the impending war in Ukraine? Well, there is no impending war in Ukraine. The war happened in 2014. It concerned an incredibly small piece of Ukraine. And again, guys, the great metaphor that I always use is this, right? I've said this before. I'll just repeat it again very quickly. If Mexico looked at the state of Texas one day and decided, you know what, that border city, El Paso, we checked our history books, it really should belong to us. So we're just going to surround it and take it back. If they did that and they took back the city of El Paso on the border between Texas and Mexico, and they didn't do anything else, people in El Paso would be like, what the heck? What happens to us now, right? And anybody who knows Texas knows that's probably not something you want to do. But in Dallas, Fort Worth, in Houston, in Galveston, everywhere else in Texas, it looks like it always does every single day of the year. People out walking dogs, going to concerts, getting food, sunny day, crickets and birds. That's exactly what's going on in Ukraine. Everywhere you go in Ukraine, except for 2 cities on the border with Russia, it looks like it always has and always did, which is why I've done about 20 tours, 20 of them since the conflict started, because we don't go anywhere near it. Now, the conflict is not what it used to be. It's still happening to a certain degree. It's much, much less than it was, and it's only in that small area which comprises about 3% of the overall landmass of the country of Ukraine, which is about the size of Texas. We're not going anywhere near that. We're hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles from anything like that at all. As far as martial law goes, the president declared martial law while I was in Ukraine, and nothing that I saw visibly changed. Quite frankly, there were no checkpoints. There were maybe 1 or 2 more police officers here or there. I think the martial law declaration was for the president's benefit to be able to do some things administratively that he might not have the ability to do without martial law, for example, like postponing the upcoming election. We don't expect that the declaration of martial law is going to have any impact on us at all. And we have another tour coming up on January 31st. And if you want to go, you probably should. So, yeah. Stan says, how do I get a visa to go to China? Well, most of our clients who do our China tours, Stan, are using one of our partners known as mychinavisa.com. You can apply also at the Chinese consulate, the Chinese embassy here in America in Washington, D.C. I think there might be another one in Seattle. I could be wrong, but just go to mychinavisa.com. They're great. They're very reliable. They'll kick it out to you in about a month, cost you about $300. So yeah. Mark says, the only thing I don't have yet is my passport. Do I need it to make an open reservation? No, you don't. There is a space on the form asking you for your passport number, but we don't need it right now. So you can make your reservation. Go right ahead and do that, Mark. No problem. Great questions, guys. Rick says, hey, if I go to a city not on the tour, could the staff help me with bus, train, hotel tickets, and arrangements? Absolutely. I mean, as much as we can help you, we definitely will help you, Rick. So that's not a problem. We can do that. We have guys on every tour. When we go to Ukraine, every tour, or frankly, China too, it's not at all uncommon for guys to want to go to a neighboring city to meet somebody they've been writing to. And our staff will definitely be helpful and give you some good advice around that. Man, I love that. I love that. My friend Olga and my friend Tom. Tom's engaged to a girl from Kherson. Nice. Guys, you can click the green box above me to ask more questions. Bob says, which is the best way to go with a K1 visa or try and get her a tourist visa? I would definitely go with the K1 visa because unless she's from China, it's highly unlikely she's going to get a tourist visa, Bob. It's not easy to get a tourist visa for women. Some can, but it's very, very few. It's hard to do. So you are more likely going to want to get her a fiancé visa. And if you happen to get her a tourist visa, don't marry her while she's here on a tourist visa because that will violate the terms of her visa, and I wouldn't do that. What are the advantages and disadvantages of each? I think we kind of talked about that. Does AFA help with either one? Well, you know, we can give you advice, right? We can tell you some things that you're going to need to do. We have a great attorney who can definitely help you to process a K1 fiancé visa for sure. And we can give you some pretty poignant advice when the time comes, and we'll be happy to do that, Robert, all right? All right. Mr. Beats is asking, then we'll take a break from questions for a few minutes while you guys catch up to me with your questions because I'm too fast for you. Mr. Beats says, I'm sorry, what services are included with the tour packages? Your tour package includes your airport pickup when you arrive in the city of the tour. We'll take you from the airport to your hotel. Your hotel and your breakfast are included. You have your private hotel room and your breakfast every day, which is usually quite nice. You have city tours. You've got, you know, touristy type tours. We'll do a couple of those. We have our social events, which are 4 hours long, a number of social parties. There are at least 2 on every tour. Depending on what tour you go on, there may be 3 or 4 or more, depending on the tour that you choose. But your social parties and your huge, ample opportunity to meet hundreds and hundreds of women, that's part of your tour package. The interpreter who's going to help you at your tour social is definitely included, and really as many introductions as you want each day of the tour from our staff. So if you're not finding what you want at the socials, there's probably a huge problem, to be honest with you. But if that's happening for whatever reason and you need more dates, we can absolutely call women in our database that you identify as potential matches for you and let them know you're in town, tell them about you, and ask them to come and meet you for a date, coffee, dessert, pizza, whatever. And that is another way of getting some great dates. Quite frankly, guys, I rarely have guys sitting around without dates. And if I have you sitting around without dates, I don't want to sound obnoxious, but there's something wrong with your plan because there are so many women. On this last tour, I had a lot of canceled dates. I begged the guys not to cancel dates. I threatened that if the guys are going to cancel dates, we're going to stop setting up dates because we just can't call a girl up and get her all excited that she's going on a date and then call her 4 hours later when she's finally done her hair and her nails and tell her you canceled the date. We hate that. We really do. You know, so why would a guy cancel a date? Because he's already out on another date and he's having a good time and he doesn't want to leave the date to go on the date that he asked us to schedule. So in reality, we have more dates that are arranged than guys know what to do with. So we'll keep you plenty busy, I promise. But all of that is part of your tour package. So what's not included in your tour? Your airfare to and from the city is not included. And whatever you do for lunch, whatever you do for dinner, I mean, there are cheap restaurants everywhere, wonderful restaurants, but getting food is not expensive. Doesn't have to be. And, you know, whatever dates you go on, and if you need an interpreter to help you with your dates, because some women speak English and some women don't. Except in the Philippines, where the vast majority of them do speak English. But there are some that speak English and there are some that don't. And if you want to date a girl who doesn't speak English, good for you. A lot of guys don't do that. Big mistake, guys. Big mistake. So if you're going to date somebody who doesn't speak English, we'll provide an interpreter for you. Outside of the social, when you're out on a date, you'll pay the interpreter somewhere between 15 and 20 bucks an hour. So that's how that's broken down, my friend. Great video footage we're watching, guys. Do you realize we've been watching absolutely spectacular video footage from Ukraine, our tours in Ukraine, for the last 6 or 7 years? Do you realize, I look at some of these venues and some of the places where we do our social events in Ukraine. Do you realize how long we've been doing this and the great video that we capture? It's amazing how consistent that is, because the experience is very consistent. Guys go, women go, men and women meet each other in a very, very respectful environment. And I just love watching it. I love watching people interact. I love watching people meet with each other. I've attended a good many of these socials, right? And I know some of the women in the videos. I just remember them meeting my clients or casually chatting with them at a social if they're standing around bored with no one to talk to. Some of them are our independent agency affiliate partners looking out for their girls at our social event. And I see people and friends and people that I know, and I see a good number of our client customers. And I just love it. I really do. I just love watching people meet. I love that whole entire interaction. Hey guys, I don't know about you, man, but 2018 was 75% completely freaking spectacular and 25% tragic for me. I think that's probably a typical year, right? So I lost my mom this year in summertime. I realized today, I did a little bit of math, a little bit of figuring, and I realized, strangely enough, my dad died 2 years ago in July, on July 4th. And my mom died this year, 2 years after my father, on July 3rd, overnight into July 4th. Almost 2 years, within a few hours exactly, my mom went to meet my dad. That's crazy, right? That was definitely not the highlight of my year, but I met a lot of people. I made a lot of great friends, and I did some new things. You know, I saw some new places and had some really, really good experiences. And you know, it's funny, my life, it's quite an adventurous little life. And sometimes if I have a year, some of you can relate to this, right? If I have a year where nothing really bad happens, that's a good year. It's not so much that anything really spectacular happened, it's just that nothing bad happened. And I must admit, 2018 was just a quiet, calm, but really spectacular year, albeit, you know, the loss of my mom. So I hope that you had a similar year. I certainly hope you didn't lose anybody this year, but I hope you had a good year. I mean, we've been talking for a long time, and this is obviously the time of the year when we start to close the book on one year and open the chapter on the next one, and you know that's coming, right? And you've already been thinking about how you're going to diet, how you're going to exercise, and how you're going to save more money, and the things that you're going to do to make 2019 better and different than 2018. And yet we also know that we really suck at that for the most part, right? Our resolutions, I just set myself up for failure every year. I'm going to eat less, you know, drink less, party less, just whatever it is. I just set myself up for failure because I just challenge myself a little too much. But 2019, I'm telling you, I feel a vibe for 2019, and let me tell you what I feel. In 2017, a year ago at this time, I felt that 2018 was going to be a beautiful, calm year, and for the most part, that's exactly what it was. I have intuition about 2019, and I suspect it's going to be a really challenging and difficult year, and I'm not going to go into why, but for personal reasons. 2019 is a big, scary looking year to me right now. It really is. I don't mind sharing that with you personally, and there's a reason for that. Every now and then in life, as men, you know, we're riding around the countryside on our horses, being chivalrous knights, just doing what we do, right? Just guarding our whatever, looking over our lands, talking with our people. And then we go around a corner. You can relate to this, guys. We go around a corner, and right in front of us, right smack dab in front of us, all of a sudden, from out of nowhere, is this big, gigantic, ugly briar patch. What is briar? Briar is big, thick bushes. They're really, really hard, and they've got hard thorns on them. You know, foxes chase rabbits around. Rabbits will hide under the briar. The fox won't go into the briar because the rabbit can squeeze in between the thorns, and the fox can't. And the thorns are like razor blades. They're going to cut you. They're going to hurt you. So you don't run through briar unless you really want to damage yourself. But you know what? Every now and then, guys, every now and then, life brings us to a briar patch that's right in the way of our path. There's no going around it. We can't avoid it. There it is. You can't do anything, and there it is, right? And I've noticed when I get to a briar patch, I'm a little bit of a coward sometimes, right? I look at that thing and I think I can outsmart it. I think I can go around it. I think there must be a way. There's got to be a way. And I'll sit and look at that big old ugly briar patch and I'll analyze it to death. I will. And then I'll do what everybody else does. I take a little longer to do it than most people do, but I'll eventually give in, realize there's nothing left to do, get on my horse, pick up my mighty sword, scream and yell, and charge the briar patch, right? 2019 is going to be a briar patch of a year, but that's okay. That's all right. I'm ready to charge my own personal briar patch and come out on the other side of it. That's the thing about a briar patch. Briar doesn't go very tall. You can look over it. Isn't that interesting? You can be staring at a briar patch that's in your path, that's right in your way. You can be staring right at it, and you know you've got to go through it. You can't not go through it. You're either going to sit there and do nothing, or you're going to go through the briar patch, and you may even take one or two people who are with you through the briar patch, but you can see over the briar patch. And what do you see over the top of the briar patch? You see your kingdom. You see your lands, you see your castle, you see your family, your wife, your children waiting for you. You see all of that on the other side of the briar patch. You can clearly see it. It's right there, waiting for you. Everybody's yawning, looking at their watch. Where's Bud? Let's go. Come on, man. Right? And you've got to go through the briar patch. So the briar patch is a metaphorical thing, but I bet a vast majority of you know exactly what I'm talking about. Now, what if the briar patch is, I'm tired of being alone, I'm tired of being lonely, I'm tired of feeling like I don't deserve a wife and family, I'm tired of having no wife and family, I'm certainly tired of holidays without somebody. I don't know about you guys, right? But you go around the city during the holiday time, and what do you see? You see a lot of couples, right? You see a lot of couples holding hands, being loving and tender. Isn't that the sweetest thing? And don't you long for it? Don't you long for it? I admire it. I really do. Right? And I long for it just like you do. So if you long for it, can you do something about it in 2019? One of the webcasts that I did this year talked about learned helplessness. Do you remember that, guys? I talked about Pavlov's dog and how the dog was trained to believe that it had to endure electric shocks, basically, it couldn't do anything about. And the whole idea of learned helplessness comes from this idea of I'm in a situation that I can't do anything about. And I think a lot of learned helplessness, quite frankly, is a myth. It's a lie that we tell ourselves. I'm in a situation that I really can't fix or change. But you can. It just takes gigantic sacrifice and massive determined action. Remember that great quote from Tony Robbins? Right? Success is commitment followed by massive determined action. I love that. I absolutely love that. I'm real good at the commitment part. I kind of suck at the massive determined action part. So I'm going to work on that in 2019, believe me. Many of you are sitting here in a space without a life mate, and you deserve a life mate. And many of you are going to settle for the virtual love that a lot of businesses like mine want to sell you. Chat into oblivion, write letters into oblivion, tell yourself that you're in love with someone you never talked to and whose voice you've never heard. You'll tell yourself that because you're lonely and you want to believe it. But don't you settle for it. 2019 may be a briar patch of a year, but here's what I think we should do, guys. Seriously, here's what I think. If you're lonely and you're sad and you want to find your life mate and you're a good guy with a good heart and good old-fashioned family values, let's lock arms and let's charge the briar patch together. Let's do that. Let's all mount our horse. Let's all grab our sword. Let's lock arms and let's charge the briar patch. Whatever it is that's keeping us from love, from fulfillment and happiness, let's go shred the out of that briar patch, and let's do it together. Because quite frankly, I don't want to do it without you. I don't want to do it alone. That's going to be real hard for me to do. So I need you and your friendship and your support, and I'm really looking forward to providing you the same. This November tour, I met such nice guys, a band of brothers. I made some new friends, and you know, I'm just still humbled and surprised at how cool an experience that was. I'm looking forward to carrying that forward into 2019. I'm looking forward to carrying you forward in 2019. I'm looking forward to you carrying me forward in 2019. So let's do it together, guys, right? Many of you write to me and tell me that you appreciate the webcasts and that they're helpful. You're not sitting there in the abyss. I need you and I need your help and support, right? If you enjoy these webcasts, I want you to write to John and let him know that. I think John knows how valuable these are, but John needs feedback too. He does. So john@loveme.com. Thanks for the webcasts. They mean a lot to me. Let him know that. It's very, very important. Let's not take that for granted. And then let's start thinking together. Let's talk to each other and communicate. How can I make 2019 my best year? How can I find that life mate, have somebody to give my love to, receive love from an extraordinary person who wants to give me that love. How can I make that happen in 2019 so I don't spend another year sitting down staring at that big, ugly, stupid briar patch called loneliness? We're not helpless. We're men. Men are never helpless, guys. You're not helpless, and I'm not helpless. Let's remind each other of that. Let's hold each other accountable to that. Let's go get our girl in 2019. Go get your girl. Go find your life mate. Let's do it. Let's do it. There's no other time to do it, guys. We have now. So let's do it in 2019, all right? Are you with me? I hear you. I know you are. All right. Questions, concerns, hang-ups, issues, gossip, rumor, NFL predictions. It's all good. Let's have it. Brian says, what are your thoughts on Costa Rica? Do you have any footage? You know, my thoughts are Costa Rica, so I've heard, is a really great tour. I get very few complaints from guys who go to Costa Rica, and we have a bunch of them that go to Costa Rica. We have a little bit of footage. We completely suck at marketing Costa Rica, and we need to really fix that. But it's a great tour. Now, you can take my word for it and go to Costa Rica and have the time of your life, my friend. And while you're there, you know, we'll get some good video footage so we can pass it down the line. Dennis says, how safe is China? I'm thinking about going next year. Well, we've had some video footage tonight that we're showing you. We may have some more tonight or soon. But China's great. Shenzhen, China, the city that we go to, we have an office that's there year-round. And again, 50 years ago, Shenzhen was a fishing village. There was hardly anything there. Since then, it's become a big modern city. Just do a Google image search of Shenzhen, China. You'll see what I'm talking about. It's a big, beautiful, clean city. It's got all kinds of parks and shopping malls and very interesting places to go. Great, great, great restaurants. This looks like the Philippines or the Thailand, Kirk? Costa Rica. Wow, I'm sorry, of course. How did I know? As soon as we mentioned Costa Rica, Kirk's like, bing. Amazing, right? Well, hello, Costa Rica. All right. Rick says, what city has the most to see and do? Boy, Rick, I don't know, man. I got to tell you, there are some cities that are quiet, like Kharkov. I can't say that there's a ton of stuff to do in Kharkiv, Ukraine, but I like it. And then I wish I could even explain why. It's just a quaint, quiet little city. It's spread out. It's not really little, but it's flat and spread out. And I always felt when I went to Kharkov that I was in this really pretty city that most people weren't familiar with. And it was quiet and calm and safe, and I just really, really liked it. It's not a hustle and bustle kind of city. It's not a congested traffic kind of city. It really was quite a pleasant place. But where do you have the most to see and do? I don't know, man. I'm just guessing, but I bet Bangkok, Thailand, there's tons of stuff to see and do in Bangkok. I can only imagine, right? Costa Rica, San Jose, there's so much stuff. A lot of ecotourism. You can go to the beaches. You can go to the rainforests. You can go to the tourist resort areas. There's so much stuff to do. Of course, it's quite obvious, but I like to eat. When I'm in a city, I love to try different cuisines and different foods. It's very fun for me to do that. Enjoy that immensely. So everywhere we go, there are great restaurants that you can go to. There's just so much to do, guys. Davao in the Philippines. They have some great parks and forest preserves. You can do all kinds of cool stuff. We're looking at guys ziplining in Costa Rica. How about that? I don't know that there's a bad option there for you, my friend. But if you're really looking for a lot of stuff to see and do, if you go on your own to St. Petersburg, Russia, there's tons of stuff to see and do there. You could spend a month there and not even come close. So much great stuff in St. Petersburg. If you're going to go on a tour, man, Lima, Peru, you can go to Machu Picchu. Costa Rica, there's so much stuff to do. Bangkok, Thailand. All right. Mike says, if I wanted to get married, how do I protect your pension and other financial issues? You do that with what's called a prenuptial agreement, my friend. I would seek the advice of an attorney. You can probably get good advice in one session with an attorney. You can write your own prenup or maybe have an attorney do it if you want to. But you can certainly protect your assets with a prenuptial agreement, and then you'll present it to her at a time that makes sense. That won't be the day before you get married, but when you have time to talk about what a prenup is, she's going to need some consideration in that prenup as well. So if you just write out the prenup, and if things go south, which quite frankly normally they don't, normally the couples go on and they're quite happy and successful, but if you happen to go south, you want to be prepared for that. That's just part of the reality of doing what we do in America, right? Do a prenup, my friend. Mark says, I just hope that I don't get so scared I start stumbling at the social looking like an idiot. Well, I'll tell you what, Mark, if you feel that way, you just tell your interpreter, hey, you know what, if this is overwhelming for me, I just need to take a break. Can we just talk a little bit? I'll get you a drink and we'll just chat a little bit. Step outside and talk to your interpreter. Your interpreters, guys, Your interpreters want you to be comfortable and happy. The last thing that an interpreter wants is to be responsible for you for 4 hours when you're stiff as a brick and you have no personality and you can't relax. So if you feel, gee, I'm kind of a little overwhelmed by just the numbers of beautiful women here, and I understand why that's overwhelming for some guys, just step outside. Take a break for a minute. Take a break from talking to women. Get with your interpreter and just talk a little bit. Ask for advice. Most of our interpreters have been working with us for a long time, and they have advice. You know, what am I doing wrong? Am I coming across as nervous as I feel, or do you think I'm coming across, you know, confident? Or how can I relax a little bit? What do you suggest? Just ask your interpreter. Let her help you, because most interpreters, if you're friendly to them, we're definitely going to want to help you and will help you to relax. But don't worry. Quite frankly, one of the reasons this whole entire process is so successful, guys, is that international women are very friendly. I mean, women in the places that we go to, the vast majority of them are easy to talk to. They're not standoffish. They're not stuck up. They're not snobby. They're not rude. They're very easy to talk to, even if they're not interested in you romantically. And most of the time they will be interested in you romantically. But even if they're not, women will still engage you because they're educated and sophisticated women. And I think it's interesting to meet people from other countries and other cultures. No worries. Eddie from Texas says, make sure you have time set aside for a date. The ladies do talk with each other and compare notes, and a bad impression will be talked about far more than a good one. Well, that's true. It's very important that you be a gentleman, but believe me, guys, if you're a gentleman, the women will definitely notice that too. So the women will notice if your behavior is bad on a date. Sometimes that happens, you know, sometimes that happens. But most of the guys that we have on our tours are gentlemen, and most of them leave a very good impression, and the women will certainly be talking about that. Sometimes the women will be talking about you, but in a positive way. I know that there will be times when you say a sentence or two, and the translator will translate it, and then the two of them, your girl and the translator, will talk for a little bit, and you'll think, what's that all about? I only said 2 sentences. And what's going on is the girl says, wow, interesting answer. This guy seems pretty nice. Is he really this nice? How long have you been working with him? How well do you know him? You know, I've heard some of these guys are crazy, but he seems like a nice guy. And the translator will say, he does seem like a nice guy. I've been working with him for an hour or a day or 2 days, or I've been working with him all week. And he's very nice. And he definitely, you know, has sincere intentions. He's quite serious. So they'll have those conversations sometimes about you, reflecting on you positively right in front of you. And you won't even know that's what's going on. So smile, be friendly, be considerate. Just do that. Smile, be friendly, be positive. Sound like you're emotionally balanced, right? You're not angry at anybody. You don't hate anybody. You don't have negative relationships. Who cares about your divorce and your previous whatever, right? You're positive. Everything is positive. Everything contributes to your life. Every experience has a good part of it. Your glass is always half full. Just speak in those languages. Speak in those terms, and the ladies are going to absolutely love and appreciate you. That is the truth. Great questions, guys. We'll keep it going for a little bit longer. We're watching video footage from where are we, Kirk? Kherson. I should have recognized that. Ah, yes, Kherson, Ukraine. That is such a great venue. It's an outdoor venue, and it's a lot of fun. It's very, very beautiful. We always have such a great social in Kherson, Ukraine. This looks like September, maybe, huh? All right, September. Yeah, man. All right, guys. Questions, concerns, issues, hang-ups, rumors, gossip, NFL predictions. Rick says, what is the average time that it takes to bring a lady to the USA once the visa paperwork starts? That depends on where she's from, Rick. If you begin a fiancé visa with a girl from Latin America, it's probably going to take about 90 days. If you begin a fiancé visa with a girl from China or the Philippines, probably 8 months. If you begin a fiancé visa process with a girl from Ukraine, probably 6 months in most cases. There are exceptions, but that's generally how it goes. David Ray says, awesome tour in November. David, you are right. Met some cool people, made good friends. Best time of my life. How about it? Going back to visit Kharkov and maybe Kiev in late January. You are not alone, my friend. A few of our guys. David's from my November group. Appreciate everything you do, bud. David, you have no idea how much I appreciate you, my brother. You have no idea. Drew says, we're going to burn that briar patch to the ground. Hey, buddy. Damn right. I'll leave it at that. When are you guys going to do a Chongqing China tour? That's a good question. You know, we have still some We have an affiliate partner in Chongqing. Chongqing, China is to the northwest of Shenzhen. Much to the northwest. It's on the Yangtze River, much to the northwest. Big, 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 big city. Here's the deal with Chongqing, guys. Kind of like St. Petersburg. We have an office there that can host you if you want to go to Chongqing, and we'll be happy to introduce you to a lot of very beautiful women. Not very many people are doing that. We have a ton of women from Chongqing, and nobody's going there. So if you're going to go to China on your own, you might consider going to Chongqing. Our staff will take really good care of you. You'll meet a lot of very beautiful women nobody's paying any attention to at all, in a big, big, modern, beautiful city, and have the time of your life. Sounds like fun. Sign me up. Good times, guys. You can do it. Bob says, first, I went to the Dallas seminar, which was this weekend. It was very good. Excellent. I'm 63, thinking of Ukraine or possibly Peru. Any suggestions on women in my age group? I'll tell you what, Bob, if you're 63, and you want to go to Ukraine, I think that's a great idea. I think you should plan on meeting women who are 40 and older. And probably 45 and older. I think that'll work really, really well for you. If you're thinking of going to Peru, quite frankly, I think that the whole age gap thing in Peru is not as typical. The larger age gaps, holy cow, did I see somebody on his knee in the middle of that social? I think I did. Well, that's interesting. All right. Talk about not wasting any time. I hope that went well. If you're going to go to Peru, I understand that age gaps in Peru are typically more narrow than they are in Ukraine. Women in Peru are fabulous, by the way. I mean, they're just beautiful, beautiful women. And there are so many of them. And again, our tour groups to Peru are fairly small. 12, 15 guys, something like that, versus the 30 or 40 or 60 that we have going to Ukraine. But then we have thousands of women in Ukraine, and we probably have about 1,000 women in Peru. So if you're going to go to Peru, I think you're looking at women who are probably 50 and older, maybe late 40s, maybe, and older, but they'll be stunning and beautiful. So maybe that works for you, my friend. I hope it does. So I would say probably early 40s and above in Ukraine, probably late 40s and above in Peru. And either way, you can't go wrong. Both destinations are absolutely great. So just go, my friend. Just go. You know, one possible advantage that Peru has in a situation like this, by the way, I love going to Ukraine. I've been there 25 times. I'm going to go there again. I could go there in a heartbeat. Love it. I just love it. But one advantage that Peru has in a situation like this is Peru is just several hours away from Texas, right? You're in Dallas, so you could take a short flight to Peru on a Friday, make it a long weekend, be back by Monday. A little harder to go to Ukraine and back. It takes a day to get there and a day to get back typically. It's well worth it, absolutely well worth it. So again, just go where your heart tells you to go. But Peru may have an advantage because it's closer and easier to get to. When you meet somebody, it'll be easier for the two of you to have additional time together, right? Adriano says, hello, all my plans will be made next year. I can hardly wait. The setup looks awesome. Adriano, man, you know what I'm saying, right? That big old ugly briar patch. Last year at this time, we were looking at that briar patch that said you were meant to be alone, and you're going to be, right? And then you could see over that briar patch, and you could see, I don't know, I think I'm a pretty nice guy. I think I'm good looking enough. I can attract somebody. There's somebody out there who wants to give me love and take my love in return. I can see it. I can see it. I just have to get through the briar patch. And a year before that, we were looking at the same briar patch, right? We were looking at all the reasons life tells us that we can't go and get what we want. And it's all bullshit. It really is. It's just the bullshit that we convince ourselves of, quite frankly. The briar patch, guys, let me tell you about the briar patch. Here's the thing about the briar patch. It's not real. I mean, that's the thing. It's in our head. The briar patch are the emotional barriers and the doubts and the fears that we convince ourselves of, because the briar patch really isn't there. It's a figment of what our culture does to us. When our culture tells us you don't get to be the lucky guy, you don't get to find love, you don't get to have what you want, you don't get to give your love to somebody because it's too hard to do, you don't look like Brad Pitt, you don't have Bill Gates money, dude, sorry, love is meant for the rich and handsome, or something like that. But you know that briar patch, if you think about it, guys, the briar patch that I'm talking about, it's not a physical entity, but we still got to go through it. And it may be painful at times, and there may be scars on the other side of it. If we're going to work long, hard hours, if we're going to make some sacrifices, if we're going to let go of some things that we're meant to be let go of, that are painful to let go of, If we're going to, you know, change jobs, change our lives, do something significant in order to accomplish what we're meant for, we still got to go through that briar patch, right? Right? So let's do it. We're men. We can do it. We can go through that briar patch, cut it to shreds, find the realization of love that we were meant for, and let's do it together. Let's not do it alone, because we're not alone, guys. We're all here in this environment together, so let's support each other and do it. Mark says, I'm very interested in the Philippines. Mark, let me tell you the best advice anybody ever gave you, my friend. Go. I have met at least 10 men in the last 2 years, including about 4 or 5 that I work with personally, who have married women from the Philippines, and they look, I mean, the women look great, and they're beautiful. The ones I work with here in Phoenix are spectacular. They're friendly, they're awesome, they just have great attitudes. They're clearly happy to have their husbands and their new lives, and they're just beautiful butterflies. They really are. I love the women that I work with. Glenda, right? Marlon, Bonnie, you're great girls, and having you in our office just makes, there's just more sunshine every day, man. You know what I'm saying? And some of our clients have met and married some very beautiful girls from the Philippines, and if you have your eye on the Philippines, bro, you got to go, because that's going to completely dissolve that loneliness that we've been talking about. Do it, man. If I can help you, let me know. A few more questions from you guys tonight, and then we got holidays coming up, right? Mark says, can you start the K1 process in the girl's home country? Well, what you have to do actually is collect forms. Now, when you do one of our tours, Mark, we'll give you the Fiancé Visa Kit. So that is a guidebook, a lot of which was written by me, and all of the forms that you need to apply for the K1 Fiancé Visa. You need to actually gather stuff together from her, come back, fill out some forms yourself, sign things, dot your I's and cross your T's, put them together and send them to the State Department, the Department of Homeland Security here in the States. So you actually gather documents while you are with her in her country. So in that regard, yes, but you have to actually file the Fiancé Visa back here in the States, and then it'll get forwarded to the U.S. Embassy in her country later, where she will ultimately go for an interview that will result in her getting her visa. That's how it's done, my friend. Great question. How many women show up at the Costa Rica socials? We have about 10 women per guy, my friend. If we have 10 guys on the tour, we'll have 100 women at a social. Works out pretty much like that. All right, more questions. Mel says, I appreciate all you do. We'll knock down our briar patches with authority. I love it, man, like a band of brothers. Damn it, Mel. Don't make me cry. But thank you, bro. Appreciate you very, very much. Rick says, do we often see ladies around age 30 marrying men around age 48? Is that common in Ukraine? I could see that happening in Ukraine. I could. If you are good and healthy for 48, I think that's quite possible. I really do. I don't think the age gap is going to be much more than that. I think 18 years is about, maybe 20, maybe, is about as broad an age gap as I see in Ukraine. I see a lot of men chasing women that are more than 20 years younger than they are. That is a big mistake, because I rarely ever see that go anywhere in Ukraine. But that is, in fact, what most guys do. And some guys get mad at me for pointing that out, but I'm going to point it out because it's the truth, and I want you to trust me and believe my advice, because I'm not here to hurt you or insult you. I want you to succeed. And if you're buying all the other advice I'm giving you, buy that piece of advice too. Just keep it real around age difference, and don't go more than 20 years in age difference. Quite frankly, 12, 14, 15 years should be your outer limits, unless you look exceptional for your age and she's okay. Guys, 20 years is a big age difference, right? It's almost an entire generation apart. And while you're 48, that may be no problem at all. But when you're 58 or even 68, that may be a problem. And I don't want anything to happen to you later on, right? When you get married, I want you to be married for a long time. I want you to be married forever. So you need to be compatible in order to be married forever, or you're going to fall into this dark place, and I don't want you to do that. So keep the age gap as minimal as possible. You're 48, my friend. I can promise you right now, there are women in their 40s, early 40s, late 30s who are stunning and beautiful, and there's no problem at all for you to meet them. But anyway, there you go. I feel like I'm lecturing, and I don't want to lecture. I just want to help and inspire. Yeah, that's it. Alan says, are you having your show next week, Christmas Eve? I will be in Wisconsin with my children celebrating Christmas in one form or another, my friends. So I will not be here. It's quite possible someone else will be here or no one will be here, and I'm sorry about that. Believe it or not, we've been spread so thin in so many directions. John and I haven't really talked about it. So stand by on that, and I apologize for that, Alan, but I'm really glad you're here. And if we happen to not be here next Monday night, I promise you we'll be back the following Monday and all kinds of Mondays going forward, okay? All right, so Richard says, I am legally blind and I will be totally blind in a few years. Richard, I'm incredibly sorry to hear that. You're an incredibly nice guy, and you know that I absolutely support you. I do believe there's still somebody out there for you, and I'd like to help you find that person, all right? How will that affect me here? Well, obviously there are going to be challenges with it, Richard, right? And I don't know how that's going to affect you. I mean, could somebody fall in love with you despite the fact that you're legally blind and will be completely blind in a few years? Absolutely sure that somebody can. You know, where is that person is the question, right? And I think maybe looking in the Philippines is a good idea for you. I think there are a number of advantages there. So again, we can talk about that sometime really, really soon, okay? Mark says, my family is always telling me that anything I do will cost me too much money. Well, I tell you what, that is definitely consideration, right? We always think that money, you know, what about the money, right? Because it costs money to buy airplane tickets and hotels, and it costs money to do tours, and that's absolutely true. But again, guys, you have to watch that trap of learned helplessness. What can I do to save money? Can I do anything to save money? Of course, there's always something you can do to save money. Can I make more money? Can I work even 10, 12, 15 hours part-time a week just putting money away? Can I do any kind of weekend jobs? Can I find, you know, yard jobs? Anything at all? I know that sounds funny, but the reality is there's always the opportunity, especially in this environment right now, in this economy right now. There's work out there. Go and get work. Pay off your debt. Save some money. Tell yourself, I'm going to do this for 8 months. And you know what? At the end of 8 months, I will have X amount of dollars. That's more than enough to go and find somebody. I'm going to go do it. That's my plan for 2019. I'm going to do whatever I have to do. And you know what? Your family means well, Mark, right? Every family does. But at the same time, if your family tells you, you know, you're not handsome enough to find love, it's going to cost too much money, you can't do it. If your family with all of the love is telling you, just sit there and be depressed and be alone, we're sorry, that's not good enough. It's not good enough. So you tell your family, I love you guys, I love you like crazy, I'll talk to you in a year because I'm going to do this. And go do it. And don't fall into the trap of learned helplessness, because none of us are helpless. None of us, guys. But I'm 48. Would a 30-year-old lady be okay? You know, again, I think I probably answered that, George, just a minute ago, right? Maybe. Maybe. But probably somebody closer to 38 would be really great for you, and every bit as attractive as somebody who's 30 years old. Hey, guys. That was a lot, right? All right, so guys, let's be friends. Let's help each other. Let's support each other. Let's not sit in the dark. Let's not be anonymous to one another. We don't need to do that. Let's lock arms and let's charge the Briar Patch, and let's kick the crap out of 2019. And let's make sure no matter what happens in 2019, no matter what fate throws at us in 2019, this time next year, we are all better off than we are right now. We can do that. We're capable men. We're men with strength and resources and intelligence. And more importantly, guys, whether you realize it or not, we have each other. We have the ability to make friends, to network, to support each other. And that's strong. We have community here. So let's make the most of that, and let's make 2019 bend to our will, right? Let's make it our year to achieve things we've been trying to achieve and wanting to achieve for a long, long time. We can do it together. I want to do that in 2019. I'm not going to tell you personally, but I'm just telling you, I've got big plans for 2019, and to make them happen, I need you and your help and your friendship and support, and I'll be more than happy to repay you in kind, my brothers. All right, I appreciate you so much for being here. More than anything, I appreciate Kirk, who's behind the scenes. None of this would be the least bit possible without him. Before I met Kirk, how long has it been, dude?
Three Christmases.
Seriously? 3? Wow, dude. Time flies. Before I met Kirk, we did phone calls. We did phone conferences, and they were great, but man, now we've got video to back up all the stuff that I'm saying. There's just so much more going on here, and Kirk's entirely the reason why. Kirk is amazing. Kirk got me out in front of you and created this whole format for us, so Kirk, you're spectacular. Don't change a thing. And there we go, guys, right? I appreciate your questions. Have great holidays. Have a great Christmas. Celebrate. Enjoy. Take time. Breathe it in. Enjoy your family. And when it's over, put on your armor and get ready for 2019, and let's go. Do 2019, all right? Happy holidays, Merry Christmas. I'll see you on the other side. Have a great night, great holidays, great rest of your week.